Alright guys, time for another Patreon request, and this one comes from my good friend, the Mount Vernon Kid. And this time around, he asked me to do a pretty interesting subject, and that is, what would it be like if, Spider-Man was in the DC Universe? Now, basically he's asking not only what would it be like if Spider-Man was a DC comic character, but he's also asking me, you know, would Spider-Man still have the level of popularity that he does at Marvel? Obviously, Spider-Man's the big MVP, the big dog, the big MVP over on the Marvel side. But would he be able to contend for the spotlight over the big three? That's kind of what I'm going to talk about. So, yeah, let's get into it. And as always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, where you guys can start sending me requests. If you hit the 4th tier, where you got, once you guys hit the 4th tier, you guys can not only check out, exclusive content over on my Patreon, but you guys can also start sending me requests for videos to put here on YouTube. But other than that, let's get into it with this video. So starting off, let's talk about let's say Spider-Man was never created over at Marvel and he was created at DC. What would that be like? Now, obviously, DC is full of characters that people love to varying extent. But here's the thing. DC Comics is run by 3 characters. Superman, Wonder Woman, and the biggest, Batman. Like, that's how it goes. Like, if you look at the sales, like, Batman is the absolute king. Why do you think so many Batman characters and Batman himself have so many fucking titles? It's Batman's show. You're all just living in it. That's kind of how it goes. I'm not trying to sound like a super Batman nut job, but I'm like, that's just how the sales go over at DC. So, Spider-Man. You see, Spider-Man would be interesting, and let's say let's for this argument say that Spider-Man was created at DC in the 60s, same era as he did in the 60s. But he would be in the same, he would be basically a Silver Age character alongside, the Flash and Green Lantern and some of the other new superheroes that showed up to support the big 3. So, yeah, he would have some legacy to him. Peter would definitely have some legacy era to him. The problem is that I think they would make him a little too young. And also, I feel like Peter would be joining the Teen Titans. Like, that would be kind of his thing. Like, you could see Spider-Man as a Teen Titan in this continuity, where Peter is essentially just kind of relegated to someone's sidekick, or he's just a young superhero to begin with. Also, I do think that costume would be altered. Like, I do think Peter's costume wouldn't be like an all-covering. It would be more along the lines of, like, Peter would probably have like a face, like you could see some of his face, or at least his mouth, and the costume would probably, while we're still keeping the red and blue, I do think that costume would probably have probably more skin exposure or something. And definitely I could see he would be going on. If you thought some of his adventures in the DC universe was the Marvel universe was wild, could you just imagine real quick what Spider-Man would be like in the Silver Age of DC Comics? Just think on that for real quick. Just I could see Spider-Man oh no, I'm turning into a giant Goliath-sized spider, or oh no, it's the Spider-Man from Earth 2, or oh no, Spider-Man's trapped in a crystal from an alternate universe that feeds on negative energy, because that's totally a thing you would see in the 60s DC Comics. You see what I'm saying? He would just go on these wild, he would go on some JoJo's Bizarre Adventure shit. I'm just saying, he would definitely be going on some crazy adventures. And I'm pretty sure they would. I will say, though, they probably would do the 6-armed Spider-Man thing, because that would be something DC would do, is turn Peter Parker into a Spider-Man like at Marvel, and also give him 6 extra arms. But getting back to the original case is that I don't think the problem would be is that Spider-Man, I don't think, would get the same level of love as he does at Marvel. I don't think he would get that at DC. Why? Again, I go back to the big three, you know, the Trinity, especially the regards of Batman. Now, I do see him kind of where, if he was in the same era as Green Lantern or, you know, the Flash, I could definitely see that Spider-Man would probably get some love in, like, the same level of love we give to, like, the Flash and Green Lantern and Martian Manhunter, in that it's all like, they're fun characters, and maybe they'll get a movie. Like, maybe there's a chance they could get a movie. Like, maybe there is a, you know, we can entertain the possibility that these characters could possibly one day get a film, but they would always be like fan favorites. Like, it'd be like, yeah, where's Wally West? People would go, yo, where's Peter Parker? If DC did a Flashpoint reboot, they would probably forget, like, yeah, Peter Parker, yeah, where's Peter Parker? That's kind of where it would be. Now, arguing the case of if they would use, like, Miles Morales or, like, characters like those, that's not the case here. I'm just saying, like, because, well, since we don't have an Ultimate Universe, I don't think Miles would be a thing. Yeah, and you could tell but Wildstorm's kind of like the Ultimate Universe. It is, but it never had like direct facsimiles of those DC characters aside from Midnighter and Apollo. So Miles would be a non-factor in this continuity. As for other characters, I could see, if we're going to have, like, Spider-Man in the DC universe, we might as well have the rest of his supporting cast in here, too. But there would be some major changes for these characters, because they would look at it and go, well, Clark Kent's already doing, you know, Clark's already got the evil, you know, the evil scientist and the evil, you know, and the evil billionaire, plus, you know, Spider-Man, you know, he wouldn't be the Bugle would probably be something else, like, I don't know, probably like I would say not so much a paper, but maybe like a media studio or something, and Peter Parker would be like a report, like, okay, not a reporter, but more like he would probably, they'd probably give him, instead of being a photographer, they'd make him like a cameraman or something, like, hold the camera, you know, Peter, you know, get me in the shot. Like, it would basically be like Jimmy Olsen with superpowers. I'm just kind of spitballing here. His villains would probably be altered drastically. Like, I could see a lot of his villains being like actual mutant monsters. Like, and they would probably be like, you know, monsters like the Rhino would actually be a humanoid rhino, or the Lizard would just be, well, it's probably still be Kirk Connors, but he'd like willingly turn into him like all the time. Green Goblin would and God, I don't even know where to start with the black costume, and to an extent Venom and Carnage. Yeah. But again, it goes back to, would Spider-Man be as popular? I don't think so. I think he would probably be like, people would probably equate, if Spider-Man was in the it was a DC Comics character and he got shows and whatnot, people would be like, well, where you give us all of these Batman movies, where's the Spider-Man movie, DC Comics? He's popular. And I think if they were to do like reboots, because DC is known for reboots, they'd probably like make him like, try to keep him young and hip, and try to probably keep him around the age of like Dick Grayson or maybe even Jaime Reyes, and kind of do something in that regard with him. It's really hard to say, but I don't think Spider-Man, because he'd be so overshadowed by these other characters. And I'm being generous here. There is a very good chance that Spider-Man could easily become a very obscure character in the DC universe if he existed in the DC universe. That's kind of the other thing, too, is that I'm being incredibly generous when I say that Spider-Man could get the same level of popularity as, like, The Flash, or Blue Beetle, or, you know, some of these other characters. But you always run the gambit of, maybe he doesn't. That's kind of the thing. Yeah. There may have been a chance where he became a cult favorite character. And I do emphasize cult favorite. Anyway, so you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of, what would you think it would be like if Spider-Man was in the DC universe? just comment below, let me know. And Chris, thank you once again for your help, for your Patreon request and your continued patronage. And like I said earlier, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon. But other than that, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.